everyone, I'm Groot Guitar. Today we're going to break down a variety of modern guitar tones using Toneforge Jason Richardson. Let's hear these tones in a mix and get right into the breakdown. I want to give a huge shout out to my friend Josh for working with me on building the mix and song from the ground up. Now without further ado, let's jump into the mix. Alrighty then, so here we are within Reaper, and let's start by looking at the guitar chain and see what's going on under the hood. So as you can see here, the only thing we have going on is the Toneforge Jason Richardson plugin. We don't have external gates, EQs, or anything of the sort. This was intentional because I wanted to show how versatile this plugin is on its own merits so that you know what you're getting. So with that said, let's dive into the main interface that you can expect to see no matter what tone you're looking at. At the top left, we have a gate knob. Oftentimes when gates are included in plugins, I've had them to be a bit underwhelming, but this gate was rather exceptional. At no time did I feel myself wishing I had my external gate. Below, we have the input knob, which also serves as a gain knob. This was pretty instrumental in the creation of the tones used here because I like to dial it back a bit to clear up the tone as well as remove some of the saturation that is common with digital amps. Here at the top right, we have a tuner. I always love it when tuners are included with plugins because it's just a great time saver. To the right, we have a question mark, which takes you to a PDF for the manual for the plugin. And below, we have an output knob, which serves as you'd expect for an output knob. Now below, we have a selector menu. Here we get to essentially go to different menus to adjust our tone to our liking. Here we have a channel switcher, which allows us to access our clean, rhythm, and lead channels. Whenever you click one, you're taken to the next option, which is essentially the UI for that channel. The next one is a cab channel. You have 4 choices of mics and 2 built-in cabs. For those who are really fond of IRs, here you have the option to do that. Here we have an effects channel. This is where a lot of creativity can come from. You have your delay, your lo-fi, and your reverb. Here is what I like to call the workhorse of the plugin. This is hands down one of my favorite EQs that I've seen in recent memory. And last but not least, we have a dynamic controller, which is essentially a compressor. At all times, I kept it at default values and found it to get the job done quite well. Now that we're more familiar with the plugin, let's dive into some of the tones I used in the song earlier. So first, let's start with what we hear first, which are some Shimmering Cleans. Let's actually hear just the DI without the Toneforge plugin and hear what it sounds like. Alright, just some simple triad chords, getting the groove started. Now let's turn on the plugin with the tone I have here and let's hear how it sounds. Alright, so let's see what's going on here. So what I loved about this clean channel is just how straightforward it is. I feel like this is just as clean as it can get, no pun intended. So we have our low and we have our high, and in the middle we have our shimmer button. I view this as a supercharged clarity knob. It can really bring out the shimmering cleans, or it can really dull it out if that's what you need. So let's actually single out a track and let's demonstrate that. Alright, so we see right now it's losing a lot of the clarity. We could also go way on the opposite side. bit too much, but you get the idea. Like, you really have a large spectrum of how bright you want your cleans to be. Now for the cab section, I did go with the PRS cab as well as a condenser mic. For the effects, which is what really breathes live into this section, I did some delay and reverb. For the delay, I kept it at defaults at first. I tweaked a little bit with the width to kind of fill up the mix a bit more. And for the reverb, I kept mostly to the defaults, but I did increase the size because I did want these cleans to be as wide as can be. For the EQ, let's see what it sounds like with EQ off. EQ on. So here we boosted the mids and trebles. We really want the mids and trebles to be bright here. I did a cut at 300 here in the bass just to get rid of some of that rumble. And I did a boost at 1K in the mids just to get that extra punch. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, a lot of the compressor stuff here is really just default. And now, let's jump into that groovy post-rock tone. This particular amp head has something that stands out, and that's the edge button. The edge deals with the high end. It can bring a lot of life into your tone, and it can also kind of dim it out. For this particular song, I definitely wanted to shoot that brightness way up. I just wanted the tone to be alive. So with that said, I put the edge up quite a bit. I turned the presence way up, as well as the treble, in terms of mid and lows quite down. So in the end, we have a really bright, really crunchy, killer rock tone. As for the cab itself, we went with the PRS and condenser. For the EQ, I scooped and boosted in a couple different areas than I normally used to. I did cut in the 200s for the bass, boosted at the 500, which I suppose is rather normal, boosted in the 3K, and then cut at 12.5 for the treble, because there was so much high. It was too much at a point, so I had to dial it back somewhere, and this is where I did that. When it came to making lead tones for the song, I was a bit surprised how much I liked the rhythm channel for leads and the lead channel for rhythm. I really liked the additional EQ knobs that the rhythm channel has when it came to the guitar solo that happens midway through the song. I really appreciated having these extra knobs on top of the EQ to allow me to make something that could really cut through the mix when the rhythm and drums were going extra hard. The big difference between these two lead tones is the adjustment of these knobs. The purpose of these is just to help you mask and or enhance certain frequencies. The other difference are the mics. I am using the condenser for the guitar solo and the 57 for the intro lead. And as far as effects, for the guitar solo I used delay and reverb because I really wanted to go all out. Whereas for the lead guitar, due to it taking center stage, I really didn't want to get carried away with some of the effects. And for the EQ, they are very similar except for where I boosted the mids. Here, for the guitar solo I boosted at 5K and the other I boosted at 3K. Before I move forward, let's solo both lead tones and see how they sound outside the mix. This one is supposed to sound more smooth. And this one, the guitar solo, is meant to sound more harsh as it's supposed to push through a much louder part of the mix. It's time for that sweet modern metal tone. As I mentioned earlier, I am using the lead channel for this metal tone. As you can see, I went a bit extreme in eliminating some of the low frequencies. I turned the low to literally 0, bumped up the presence, bumped up the mids a bit, kept treble at noon, and pushed the edge as far as I could before it got a little too scratchy for my tastes. A big difference is for the cabs. We are using the JST cab instead of the PRS, because, you know, if you want to go metal, go JST. Some important notes for EQing a lot of modern metal guitars. You go to the 4K, you get the biggest shuffle you can get, and you just scoop it up, get it out of here. We go to low mid, boost in the 1K, boost in the 1.5 for the mids, and for the treble I needed a little push to get it where I needed to be in the mix, and this is what we ended up with. Before we close out, I'd like to give a huge shout out to Joey Sturgis Tones for allowing me to demo such a versatile plugin. If you like what you heard, check out my content at Groot Guitar, and I'll see you guys there.